12. Hey guys, welcome to another Tuesday talk. We are live, so anything can happen, as you all know. And let me just X out of this and get to where I need to be. Okay, all right. So again, welcome to Tuesday Talk, part of the Norton Sports Health training program for the KDF Mini and Marathon. I'm Stephanie Fish, and I'm with Norton Sports Health and your training program coordinator virtually. So today we're going to be talking about nutrition and hydration for training and also for race day. This is a very important topic. Some of you might be feeling a little more sluggish as we're getting into some higher mileage and some more miles during the week. And we want to try to combat that and making sure that you're doing proper nutrition and proper hydration. So before we begin that topic, I just want a little housekeeping as usual. You are muted. If you have Q&As, which I hope you do, if you have questions, there's a Q&A section right on the bottom part of your Zoom where you can enter your questions. Please feel free to do that at any time, and we will address those towards the end of the program. And in addition, this is being recorded, so none of you are on video except for me and Heather, so you're good. But we will be sharing it on the Facebook group and also via email by tomorrow, I believe. So if you miss it or if you have to log in and log back out, you're good to go. You'll catch the end of it. So let's kick things off. We have our special guest with us, which is Heather Legier. And I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
All right. Well, like you said, my name is Heather Legier. I'm the registered dietitian with Norton Healthcare in Good Health, the employee wellness program. I've been in this role about 3 months now. I just started in November, but previously I was the performance dietitian at Humana. And then prior to that, I have been a diabetes educator. I've worked in primary care and doing medical nutrition therapy in doctor's offices. So I've been a dietitian for about 10 years, but most recently in the wellness field and fitness and healthcare. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today.
Awesome. Okay, so lots of knowledge there then. So you're going to have all of our answers today, obviously. So just to get started, yeah. So just to get started, I know you have a little presentation for us, which thank you for doing that, by the way. We do want to get just kind of your general thoughts on nutrition and hydration while training, and maybe even some suggestions for a race day. So I know you have a presentation. Feel free to share your screen.
Okay. Okay, all right. Can you see that? Okay, great. All right. So I'll go ahead and get started. This is prior to this position, my area of expertise is the performance dietitian for Humana, is an associate well-being program in their fitness center. So I was happy to be able to speak on this. 2 years ago, I think the last time the KDF Marathon, I worked at the Humana tent. So it was a great day. It was a really great day for a race. I think that was 2019, and so that was a really great day, and we had a really good turnout. It was just beautiful that morning, just a little bit chilly, so I hope it turns out that well again this year too. All right, so an outline, just some topics that we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to start with the importance of food as a fuel source for the body, and we're going to talk about calories and the function that they serve as energy for the body. I'm going to be discussing a pretty important topic here, macronutrients, and then talking about meal timing, so when to eat before, during, and after around your exercise training sessions, and then also some information on hydration and some common exercise, endurance, sport, and running type questions in regard to nutrition. So I'll go ahead and get started here. So you really want to think about this as our bodies are like a car. You want to fuel up before you want to add gas to the tank before you leave on a road trip. That's the analogy I've used many times. You wouldn't leave your house to go on a road trip, and during COVID, hopefully not too many people are going on road trips, especially out of state. So if you are leaving, just like happened to me yesterday morning, I woke up, I forgot to get gas this weekend. So I was on empty and I had to get gas before I came to work because my car wouldn't have run. It's the same thing with our bodies. Don't, skip fueling before your workout. It's really important. So studies suggest that eating or drinking carbohydrates before exercise can actually improve your workout performance and may allow you to work out for longer periods of time or even at higher intensities. So I don't know if any of you all, I got this a lot from my clients at my last job, is they never understood why after that, say there was an hour-long CrossFit type class, a higher intensity class that we would have in the gym, they say they would start out, they'd eat lunch and say the class was at 4 o'clock. They had a lunch, they felt fine, they didn't really have a snack or anything, then class was at 4, they started out the class for about 15-20 minutes, they felt fine, then all of a sudden they just could not move, couldn't like they were before, this loss of energy, and they just didn't understand why. My first question is, did you eat something within 2 hours before your workout? Most often I heard the word no. This is why. If you ever have felt like this, it's because you're not eating enough before the workout. You need to fuel up with carbs before you exercise, and just keep that in mind. Food is fuel. So you wouldn't starve your car of fuel and expect it to run efficiently, would you? Even driving around on low fuel is just putting extra stress on your engine and in your car. It's doing the same thing for your body. So why would we treat our bodies any different than we treat our cars? We shouldn't. So fuel is definitely important. And so fuel, like gasoline is to a car, we use calories for energy. We get calories from all sorts of different sources. But you may be wondering, well, how many calories do I really need? Well, there are online calculators. Someone like a registered dietitian, we have ways that we can use either manual formulas and our calculators and getting it out and do the formula and calculate your needs. And the needs calculations are based on if you're male or female, your height, your weight, your activity level. All of that plays a role. But there's also online calculators if you are curious. One that I use that's pretty simple is Omni Calculator, and it's free. You can choose different formulas. I use the Mifflin St. Jour formula to calculate, and it allows you to choose male or female, and it uses pounds. Sometimes the formulas will use kilograms and meters and so this one you can actually use like pounds and inches for height. So it's pretty simple. And then basically, so calculating the perfect amount of calories you need to support a new training regimen. But trying, it's that finding that happy medium. You're trying not to add too many, which would cancel out your calorie burning and can cause weight gain and possibly greater risk of energy. So by calculating your daily energy requirements, you can start by adding an additional 100 calories for each mile you run. Is a good place to start. That's not a hard and fast rule, but that's a good place to start to give you kind of a jumping off point on seeing where you need to be.
Hey, Heather, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I think we're having a little technical difficulty with your PowerPoint. We're not following along with your different screens. We're still on screen 1.
Okay.
And this is like really good information, and I know you have it on these different slides here, and I don't think your slideshow started.
Okay. Are you still not seeing it?
So we're on slide 1. I think you just have to maybe start it.
Okay.
It happens all the time. Hey folks, we're live. We all know that. We are live, and this is what happens. No worries. So whatever slide you're on right now in your talk, go ahead and just click on that, and then maybe just click as you go.
Okay. I'm clicking through. Are you still not seeing it?
No, ma'am. We're still on slide 1.
Okay, all right.
I think you probably have to share a different PowerPoint screen because PowerPoint goes 3 different ways. So sorry guys, a little technical. So now I have flowers, and then maybe it's it's another one.
do you see it now?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
This is awesome.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I just know you have really good stuff, and I want to make sure we see your slides.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this works. Can you see, are you on my outline slide?
Yep, sure am.
Okay.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, all right, let's try this again. Okay, so let me get caught up. Calories. Okay, so I just finished talking about calories. Okay, awesome. Glad everybody can see that now. So moving forward, calories are energy for the body like gasoline is to the car. Okay, now on to, this is a pretty big topic, like a buzzword now, macronutrients. And so macronutrients, also known as macros, they're pretty important. They're the nutrients that our bodies use in the largest quantities. They provide the most energy in the diet, so in the energy coming from calories. It's our carbohydrates, which is our fueling category, our body's primary fuel, our protein, which is our building nutrient, and then the fat, which is our protection, and also an energy source, obviously a slow burning energy source as well. In order of the body uses these, that's in that order. Carbohydrates used the quickest and used first, primary, then protein kind of in the middle, and then fat is a longer lasting energy source. So understanding the balance, and I'll go over what they do. All right, so carbohydrates, like I said, carbohydrates are the body's primary fuel source, and it's a major fuel for our muscles. So thinking about the athlete's diet, it should really consist mostly of carbohydrate. And I know some of you are all thinking, no, I don't do that. Carbs are bad. I don't eat anything white. I want to tell you, you can and you should eat carbohydrates because carbohydrates are important. That is our body's primary fuel. The body converts the carbohydrates that we eat to glycogen. Glycogen is the stored form of glucose that's stored in the muscles and in the liver to be used for later. And so when I say carbs, I don't mean eat a ton of sugary cereal and Coke and candies and things like that. I want you to think about focusing on the good carbs. And you might have even heard that word. That's probably another buzzword, good carbs, bad carbs. There is a difference, a big difference. Good carbohydrates, the best sources, that's from your whole grains, your vegetables, fruit, beans, lentils, low-fat dairy products, mainly like your milk and your yogurt. These are natural sources of carbohydrates. So naturally occurring forms of sugar, forms of carbohydrates, versus the bad carbs, the not so good carbs, those are mainly ones from added sugar sources. Those are the ones you really need to limit and try to avoid, but still thinking, I am allowed to eat carbohydrates. You should eat carbohydrates. And even limiting foods made from refined white flour, like your breads, pizza crusts, crackers, cakes, cookies, cereal, all of that. So eating more of the whole grain natural sources of sugars, less of the refined flour and added sugars. Protein. So protein is our building nutrient. Protein serves as a building block for muscles, our bones, cartilage, skin, hair, and blood. Protein is involved with all of those things. Protein is a very important part of a balanced diet, but eating more protein will not just magically make you stronger. The more protein you eat just doesn't automatically build muscle. You will have to weight train and build those muscles, but as you do so, making sure to eat adequate protein is going to help build them, make them stronger, but they don't just work by themselves. It would be great if they did. It'd be like a magic pill. To grow those muscles, like I said, put them to work and eat enough calories, aka energy, to build mass. Most people really, when you're thinking like, well, I should get a protein, drink my protein shake every day. Not necessarily. I mean, if you're eating enough protein, you can likely get enough protein from food alone if you're eating a balanced diet, including various sources of lean protein throughout the day. You likely don't need a supplement. But there are, sometimes when people, some people are just not big meat eaters. Not that they're vegetarian or vegan, they're just not big on meat, and maybe they, they get tired of so many beans and say, they don't really do soy products. So a supplement, either whey-based or a plant-based supplement, could be warranted. Or especially for those that are vegetarian and vegan, you really have to focus on getting enough protein just throughout your regular day. But working out, you may consider using one of the, and there's some great, I mean, even compared to 5 to even 10 years ago, the options are so much better for protein, power, so protein like supplements. The options are really there, which is really good. All right, so on to fat. So you may be thinking like, well, fat, I thought fat was bad. We don't need fat. Well, there's different types of fat, just like there's different types of carbs. So fats are really a multitasker in the body. So fat can, like I said, provides a sustained energy source. So that's from dietary fats. Aids in the absorption of your fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, coming from your dietary sources. It can also help boost brain function and cognitive status. Mainly the fat, and so we have fat that we eat coming from either plant-based sources or animal-based sources, so coming from our diet, but we also store fat in various, so fat actually helps us regulate our body temperatures. We have layers of fat underneath, like subcutaneous, right under our skin. That's for protection, also surrounding our organs for protection from injury as well. So that way we don't just bump into a wall and severely injure ourselves. We need a level, there's a healthy level of like stored fat and then fat that's used to be pulled out of storage and used for energy. But it's balancing, looking at the types. So we have the not so healthy fats, the saturated and trans fats, the bad fats. Those are coming from mainly your animal-based animal foods like whole milk, full-fat dairy products, the marbling on meat, butter. Those are all examples of your saturated fats. Trans fat comes from a hydrogenated oil. You don't see that as often as we used to see on the market because it has, a lot more research. I don't know, I can barely remember this, but I was old enough to remember it was probably in the 90s when people started discovering they were having heart attacks and cardiovascular disease developing, and they started linking it to trans fat. So then the company started removing it. So you might not see that as often, but it could sneak in there somewhere. Those are the bad fats. Now, counter that, you want to try to reduce those in the diet and replace them with the unsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fat and monounsaturated fat. Those are the good fats. Those are mainly coming from, another buzzword, omega-3s. Your omega-3s are a type of polyunsaturated fat that can be found in flax seeds, avocado, walnuts, tuna, salmon, fish oil supplements, flaxseed oil, many different, really good sources here. But you want to try to, like similar along the lines of the Mediterranean diet, you want to try to eliminate the saturated and trans fats and replace them with the unsaturated fats. So just keep that in mind. But it's all about not skipping one of those groups, because a lot of times people, going back to carbs, they want to eliminate one and eat more of the other two. Our bodies really aren't made to process it that way. When you try to eliminate, say, carbs, for instance, you're putting extra strain on your body and extra strain on your kidneys for having to process because what happens if you eliminate carbohydrates from the diet or really severely restrict them and you're eating more protein and fat to try to go into ketosis, to try to more efficiently burn fat, that is putting even more strain on your kidneys on trying to eliminate the toxic ketones from your body. So after time, those types of trendy diets can do damage, and not even saying, about the level of weight yo-yoing or weight cycling that can happen with those diets. So I am a proponent and I support eating a balanced diet from all foods, from all food groups. There's just good choices from each group that you should try to focus on, and not so good choices to try to limit as best as you can. So back to runners. So the macronutrients and running. So thinking about carbohydrates in your fats, and to a lesser extent your protein, are all sources of fuel for running. The running, the duration, the intensity, your fitness level, even your gender and your current diet all can impact what fuels you use. Without a diet that is relatively high in carbohydrates, you'll run on empty. So carbs, I want you to repeat this in your heads. Carbs are not the enemy. They are our friend. We need them. To fuel longer runs, you want to opt for healthy, those unsaturated fats, including peanuts, olives, and monounsaturated oils, foods from soy products and nuts, like your almonds and pistachios, and even your omega-3s, which is, like I said, found in flaxseed oil and fatty fish, including salmon. Even though protein is not the primary fuel for the actual run, it is part of that nutrition support, all the nutrient support team that you're going to need on deck when you are in this training program for a run. Protein is very important because it helps to build and repair muscle, but also aids the muscles in contracting and relaxing to help build ligaments and tendons. And what happens when you run a lot? I'm sure a lot of you all have injured ligaments and tendons and muscles. So to aid in repair and regeneration, all three nutrients, macronutrients, are very important, but protein is really key. It can help support your bones and aid, like I said, in recovery and preventing your muscles from breaking down. I like this graphic. I've used it a lot because, I still get people that, even talking to people, non-athletes, because I, as the employee wellness dietitian, employees have access to RX for Better Health, which is our employee assistance program for our employees with diabetes. And so I provide the nutrition consults for those. And, not just those people, anybody that I've talked to, they're just under the impression that carbs are bad. I don't eat carbs. I try not to. I know they're bad for me. That's what I keep hearing. Well, I know carbs are bad, so I try not to eat them. I've heard that statement so many times. Not all carbs are bad. Like Oprah says in her Weight Watchers commercials, you can eat anything you want. It's just being mindful on, I want you to look at your food labels, look at your portion sizes, even read your ingredients lists. But carbs, play a very important role for the body. Don't deprive yourself of an important nutrient, especially a primary fuel that's going to fuel your workouts and your runs. Cannot stress that enough. All right, so thinking about meal timing, so when you should be eating, like fueling around your workouts. So before your workout, so a pre-run snack can help maintain optimal levels of your blood sugar for your muscles. It can help restore suboptimal carbohydrates, that stored carbohydrate called glycogen. So a pre-run snack will help maintain it through the run, but also replace maybe, if it's been a few hours since your last meal, or has it been overnight, so that stored energy is just kind of sitting there waiting. So you want to top it off, but also prep for the activity that you're getting ready to participate in. You may be wondering, like, I can't eat before I run. I can't eat before I exercise. It just makes me sick. It's too heavy. Timing. So, some people, they say 30 minutes to 2 hours before you exercise is a good place to eat, but some may not be able to eat 30 minutes. It may have to be an hour to 2 hours, or some people can eat directly before their workout. So it really depends person to person. But to avoid some gut issues like gas or nausea, even cramping, you should really look at snacks that are high in carbs, low in fiber, and unseasoned, so keep it pretty bland, and low in fat. Try to consume this within that 30 minutes to 1 hour before you run. Something like plain spaghetti, obviously, marinara sauce would be fine there. That's pretty low residue. Toast, cereal, pretzels, a bagel, English muffin, even a breakfast bar, or even some beverages. Beverages can serve double duty if you have like something like a sports drink. A sports drink will have carbs in it from the glucose, but also electrolytes because it can help with hydration at the same time. Coconut water. Normally I say be mindful on drinks like coconut water because they can, any juice or even coconut water, you have to be careful. They will add sugar to everything. So coconut water can actually be really high in sugar, but it doesn't make it bad. Drinking it as an everyday drink, maybe that's going to add a lot of empty calories, but drinking something like that around your workout is going to be useful because of the quick acting sugar. A fruit smoothie, all examples of easier to digest high carb choices. All right, you want to really gas up that fuel tank, but if that pre-run meal happens to be larger than you expect it to be, then you likely need to wait at least 2 hours before you go for a run, depending on, you know, your tolerance level. But if it's a little bit bigger than you meant it to be, you may just have to wait to prevent any like GI upset. Hydrate with water. Foods to eat here: whole wheat toast with a nut butter and a drizzle of honey for an extra boost of quick acting sugar. A low-fat Greek yogurt topped with berries and granola. So you have protein from the yogurt and an extra boost of carbs from your berries and granola. A pita pocket filled with hummus. And you're going to add the rainbow here by adding some veggies. You could do some sliced carrots, lettuce, tomato, even some sliced peppers in there. So you're going to get a boost of carbs, from natural carbs from your vegetables. And then you have some healthy fat and protein from the hummus and some carbs from your pita pocket. A cheese stick and carrots, or banana and nut butter. Here you want to avoid greasy, fatty, or fried foods because that's just, you're really going to look at some upset stomach while on your run if you were to have any of those.
I had pumpkin pie before my run this morning. It did not go well.
I would imagine,
Just a
yeah,
side note
that's
there.
pretty, yeah, that would be pretty heavy. So that's an example. Yeah, you may be thinking like, oh, it's pie, it's carbs, it'll be fine. But as you found out, it's because cheesecake, it has extra fat because of the cream cheese it's made from. So it's higher fat, so it probably laid pretty heavy on your system. And that fat takes longer to digest. Therefore, it doesn't really work too well right before a run. All right, so during your workout, it's really, during your run, it's not necessarily that you have to eat something if it's under an hour. Something that is higher intensity and longer, which likely a lot of you all in your training sessions, and we're getting so close to the marathons now, are probably going out for over 1 hour, multiple hour runs. So here you may want to think about adding an extra 50 to 100 calories of carbs for every half hour over an hour for your run. That'll help give you the extra boost to help make it through the run. Food examples, something like that would be around 50 to 100 calories, a low-fat yogurt, a banana. A medium to large banana is roughly 100, 110 calories, or a handful of dried fruit. So something quick, easy that you can down really quickly. Or while you're on the run, you may want to focus on the glucose gels or the chews or the tablets or even that sports beverage, something quick that you can boost your calories and your carbs. And focusing on hydration, don't forget the water. Water's always best unless the type of the intensity, duration, your race environment, that can all affect on if you need a electrolyte replacement. But typically focusing on just plain water. So 4 to 6 ounces of water every 15 minutes of activity. And to give you an idea, about 1 gulp is approximately about 1 ounce. So 4 to 6 gulps of water every 10 to 15 minutes should be sufficient. Sports drinks, you know, if you're a heavy sweater, if you're running for extended periods of time in really hot weather, even dry weather, sports drinks will help give you the carbohydrate boost and hydration because it does have the sodium, potassium, the electrolytes. But just drinking them, you know, I've heard people that just really like red Gatorade and they'll just drink it. It's actually full of excess sugar and therefore calories, artificial colors, artificial flavors. I wouldn't really incorporate it into just your daily drink of choice because unless it's around running, it's specifically made for athletes. So just keep that in mind. It may taste yummy, but I wouldn't incorporate it, on a daily basis, only around your runs or exercise sessions.
I'm glad you brought up the 4 to 6 ounces of water every 15 minutes of activity. I hope you all take note of that, because as I've been telling you throughout the training, the race is going to be self-serve. So there will not be cups of water out there for you. You have to figure out how to run with your hydration, what your hydration is going to be, if it's handheld, a belt, a pack, and then making sure that you are intaking that water for the 4 to 6 ounces every 15 minutes. So if your marathon takes you 5 hours, think about how much water that is and how much you need to maintain while you're running. And it looks like you're going to talk more about during the run as well, the hydration. So sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. That's all right. No, very good point. Yes, and making sure, doing it in small incremental doses will help maintain your hydration, just like you want to maintain your glucose levels and your energy levels, rather than trying to take large amounts all at once. You don't want to do that with water either, because you don't want to run. I'm sure this has happened. You don't want to slosh around a lot of liquid. You're just asking to get sick. So taking it in small incremental doses periodically to make it last is very important. So during shorter runs, around, under 60 to 90 minutes, the energy to fuel your run comes from that stored glucose, the glycogen that's stored in the muscles. Once that's depleted, the body converts and starts using energy that's stored in your blood, so blood glucose, and then stored glucose in your liver. For runs that are greater than 60 to 90 minutes, you'll need to start consuming quick-acting carbs to replace the glucose that your body's used. This is where you're going to look at sports drinks, sports gels or chews, a banana, grapes, raisins. You can see these are very portable, very quick. You can pop them in your mouth, or even energy bars. And then post-workout, so this is where you're going to refuel, the 3 R's, refuel, rebuild, rehydrate. After workout, rehydrate with water, water, water. If you're heading home and eating dinner or eating your next meal within 2 hours, there's no need really for a post-workout snack. But if that meal is going to be greater than 2 hours after you finish, you definitely need a post-workout snack. Something like 6 ounces of a low-fat Greek yogurt, or a stick of string cheese with a few whole grain crackers, something with carbs and protein. It's going to help get that recovery process started, giving it a boost. So you don't want to waste the workout. So you have, like, in that 2-hour window, your muscles, the cells, everything's active, burning hot. You want to be able to intake, use that period of time for recovery, for your body to uptake these nutrients from our foods, because we're burning hot, we're very active. You want those cells to really absorb it, rather than just waiting 2 hours. Not only, I don't know how you would finish a run and not eat immediately, because you're going to be starving, low blood sugar. You need to replace it as quick as possible. So if it's going to be more than 2 hours for your next meal, have a snack. Remember this is a big one. People tend to get in a habit, whether it's if you've had history of trying to follow different types of diets, or following something that a coworker said, or reading something. Skipping meals is almost become commonplace now, just in general, for athletes and non-athletes, because we think, just skipping a meal, it can be kind of tied to the like a intermittent fasting. It's so trendy, and the ketogenic diet. Don't starve your body of nutrients. Timing is important, just during a day that you're not even going for a run, or if you're not a runner, you're just a regular gym goer, or you're a walk on the weekends with your family, or walk in the evenings after work. Don't get into the habit of the cycle of skipping breakfast, or maybe eating a light breakfast or skipping lunch, and then exercising after work with little fuel, because you've not gassed up the tank. You've just kept using till you're low fuel, and you didn't gas up the tank first. You likely, with that scenario of skipping meals or eating very light, thinking that you're saving calories. Well, remember, calories are energy, like gas to a car. You need to fuel your body properly so it can work efficiently and properly and help you train to prevent injury. You don't want to get injured before the race or even on the race. Injuries, performance, speed, all of that is tied to the energy, your level of fitness and how good you are, but also what you're fueling your body with and how much. So with that scenario of eating light, skipping meals, you're likely to overeat after your workout because you're so hungry from not eating during the day. It's going to put a stress on the body. It could be stress on your mind as well, just from having inconsistent meal schedule. Our bodies like consistency, so just remember that. So after your run, what you eat should be dependent on really what your goals are. So if you're looking at weight loss, you may look at lower calorie foods, not necessarily low carb, just lower calorie. If you're looking to build muscle, higher protein foods. So no matter what the goal is, you'll need to replace lost fluids, restore glycogen levels, and rebuild muscle fibers. Foods to eat, a bagel with nut butter, a protein shake. It could be a whey-based or a plant-based protein, a protein bar, and a piece of whole fruit. Can be the exact same snack that you had pre-run. That's okay. Like I said, if your next scheduled meal is within 2 hours, that snack may not be needed. Some examples of timing. So say if you have a morning workout, something like if it's on a lighter day and you're going on a lower intensity morning workout, something like a walk, a bike ride, yoga. Yoga is definitely good for stress management and for stretching. Postural has many different benefits to that, so that may be something that you do on your off days. Or a round of golf. It requires very little fuel, but still doesn't require no fuel. You want to concentrate on hydrating and then eating a small carb-rich snack. So if it's first thing in the morning and you're thinking, I don't eat breakfast, I can't go on after eating. Well, at least getting at least 2 cups of water, so about 16 ounces of water, and maybe something like a mini bagel or 100-calorie granola bar. So something that is just a quick acting carbohydrate, something with not really any protein in it or any fat. You're just having a quick carb that'll give you that quick little energy boost that should last through something low intensity. It'll give you enough of that energy to compensate for an overnight fast. After your workout, then you can focus on eating a good quality breakfast with your good carbs and a lean protein, like a hard cooked egg, a slice of whole grain toast, and 100% fruit juice, or oatmeal with berries and the oatmeal made with a fat-free milk, something like that. So if you're exercising in the evening, if it's going to be after work, you definitely don't want to skip lunch. If you're having your lunch about 3 to 4 hours before activity, then think about having, you may be thinking, well, I had a meal before I worked out. Well, it's been 3 to 4 hours ago. The body's already used some of those carbs. It's already starting to put some of that in storage. Rather, trying to focus on having that snack within 2 hours so you can top off the tank and have it readily available for your workout. Lunch examples, like something like having a grilled chicken salad, a grilled cheese sandwich with a cup of tomato soup, or a turkey sub on whole wheat bread with some baked chips. Then having a snack, so say that was at noon, and then say between 2 and 3, you had a banana with a tablespoon of peanut butter, or a handful of grapes and cheese cubes, or even a low-fat Greek yogurt topped with granola. So that's around 2 to 3. And then come about 4 to 5, around 5 o'clock, then you go exercise, you do your workout. So make sure you're looking on hydration during the day as well. And on hydration, in general, you want to know how much water to drink on a regular day, looking at about half your body weight in ounces. So if a person weighs 160 pounds, half of that is 80 pounds. So thinking your minimal needs is around 80 ounces of water. It's about half to one, so basically half an ounce to 1 ounce per pound. So that'd be 80 to 160 ounces per day. It's a good place to aim for general basic hydration. More on days that you're going to be participating in longer, more high intensity exercise. Hydration, next topic here. The goal is overall should be to minimize dehydration without over drinking. Like you want to prevent too much liquid going in. But how to monitor your hydration, this is a good thing to do in general. Urine color is a good indicator. So the first thing in the morning, your first void after you wake up, it should look like straw or maybe light lemonade. A good indicator of hydration. Anything darker than that or anything, it's going to indicate that you're dehydrated and that you should focus on drinking more. And just don't be alarmed if you see a bright shade of yellow after urinating if you've taken some vitamin supplements, because a lot of times those can change your urine color. If there's sweat loss, so during, there could be a change in your body weight before and after exercise. So if you're a heavy sweater, like excessive sweater, you may look at taking pre-exercise weight and after to see how much, like how many pounds to determine, because even a drop in like as little as 2% in body weight coming from water weight, that can impair your performance. So if you are a very heavy sweater, it may be beneficial to monitor how much you weigh before and how much you weigh after. There can be some calculations that happen to determine what percentage of weight loss that occurred to see if it could have the potential to negatively impact your performance. So to minimize dehydration, so basically dehydration can occur in every physical activity scenario. From, it doesn't have to be hot outside, the weather yesterday, was pretty chilly. You could still be sweating. You don't even have to have visible sweating on your clothes, or you could become dehydrated even in water sports or even skiing on a winter day. So you don't have to have visible sweat to know that you're losing water. Dehydration results when athletes fail to adequately replace that fluid lost during sweating. Like I said, if it exceeds 2% body weight, then it can start harming your performance. And so then you're going to be able to look at beginning your exercise well hydrated, minimize dehydration during your exercise, and replace fluid losses after exercise. Be alert for conditions that increase your fluid loss, air temperature, intensity, your body size and gender, even duration. So keep those factors in mind. So common questions that may be asked during, around, that I've read before around performance nutrition. Do you need a sports drink, gel, or energy box? Do you have to have those? There's really nothing special about them. The premise is a quick acting carbohydrate coming from a quick sugar. It's glucose. Quick acting because it's pure glucose. So they're marketed, same thing when if you've seen bars and foods, I don't like when I see like even wraps. You'll likely see some like coconut based or almond flour or even like the cheese based wraps for a sandwich, and they have the word keto in front of it, or fitness, they'll put fitness in the title, or something like these energy drinks or even protein bars, because they want to sell them. They want them to look good, and they want to make them look like, oh, you need this to perform your best. Not necessarily. You can actually, if you're able to, you can get the glucose you need from certain foods. Like I said, like a banana or some grapes or like dried raisins, like something quick. If you're not able to, or you don't tolerate that well, then maybe those gels or glucose tabs, glucose chews, even the little jelly beans, things that you can keep with you would be suitable. But you don't have to have those. I think some of the foods around fitness and dieting, it's become a trend. They're very popular, and they've become a money-making scheme sometimes. So you just have to like kind of filter through that and understand what you need, what works best for you, and then use that. Is it best to work out on an empty stomach? Your body requires fuel to work, especially if you're asking it to work even harder by running, swimming, lifting weights. So just working, so just coming to work and sitting at your desk all day, that requires energy. So if you're asking it to do more on top of that by going for runs periodically throughout the week to train, you need energy. So don't skip the breakfast before your morning workout. Eating before exercise as opposed to exercising in the fasted state has been shown to improve exercise performance. Eating in the morning helps replenish those glycogen stores and steadies your blood sugar levels. And don't forget to hydrate. So the answer is no, it's not best to work out on an empty stomach. Regular exercise means that I can eat what I want and not gain weight, right? Wrong. I wish it was that simple. It's easy to overestimate the amount of calories you burn while you work out. Now, having fitness trackers or even the app on your phone, smartphones, can help estimate how many calories burned, and that can be helpful. So it's really, you should adjust your caloric intake. So like I said, going back to the calculator, you can calculate your general calorie needs based on your current activity levels. Then you can manipulate it by understanding how many calories you are burning in your exercise sessions, and calculating it to include those extra, or making up for the extra as you're like doing more running, more miles in your training. So you can add those extra, 50 to 100 calories per extra half hour. So whatever works best on manipulating your calorie needs. It doesn't mean that you can just eat whatever you want. Recovery nutrition also necessary. So it's all part of that overall calorie intake. And for the casual exerciser working out for an hour or less, a healthy, balanced diet should be just fine. And is chocolate milk really an athlete's best friend? So a liquid recovery drink is ideal because liquids are quickly digested and absorbed. Chocolate milk has a favorable ratio of about 3 to 1. It has about 3 to 4 grams of carbs to 1 gram of protein. So that's a very favorable ratio for recovery. It is a complete protein, so it provides the essential amino acids that the body can't make. And the reason why chocolate helps, anything flavored adds extra calories in general. There's likely extra sugar and some flavoring. In general, I'd say focus on regular plain milk because you don't need the extra calories. But in this instance, you actually do need the extra calories and that boost of protein. But you can get it from other sources. If you're going the non-dairy route, you want to look at 1 to 2 cups at chocolate soy milk. And the reason why I say soy milk is because cow's milk and soy milk contain complete proteins, where other non-dairies like your almond, coconut milk, those don't contain the complete protein. So it's really it's not going to really serve any useful purpose on drinking it after a run. Or a homemade smoothie using a protein from your Greek yogurt. You have carbs from a cup of berries, extra carbs from a half a banana, a few quick carbs from a teaspoon or so of honey, and then with some either with or without ice. Or you could do a bowl of whole grain cereal and a cup of cow's milk or soy milk. And I know there was a question on diabetes. I did want to touch base. You can run safely with having diabetes. It's just blood sugar monitoring to prevent low blood sugar, especially if you're on insulin, should be your primary focus. And don't leave the house without that quick acting sugar. You shouldn't leave the house without a quick acting sugar like glucose tabs or glucose gels, regardless, especially if you're on insulin. But especially on your run. And also making sure that you tell a family member, even if you have any other health condition, tell a family member when you are going to run, or go with a buddy, training buddy. And you definitely want to look at wearing a medical identification. Have that in your phone under the SOS, something that the paramedics can access, like your medical ID on smartphones, but also wearing like those bracelets, a necklace, some kind of medical ID that if there's an emergency, they know. Like I said, train with a partner, and ensure that your footwear is very well fitted and comfortable. It's not going to cause you blisters, because that can lead to further injuries, infections, and having diabetes can reduce the healing time for injuries or for blisters and open wounds, and can lead to infection. And so and for worsening infection, we don't want that. And so just be safe and focus on eating enough before the exercise, even during, and then especially after. Just like a runner without diabetes, it's what you eat before, during, and after with regards to carbs. You want to plan your meals and snacks and beverages to meet your blood sugar targets. You may want to talk about this to your doctor to see if any type of insulin dose changes may be needed. Reduce your insulin if you're wearing a pump, but talk to your doctor first, or your certified diabetes educator. Establish some safe training blood sugar goals. That way you know when you check before, what should it be? if you're able to check during, say if you have a continuous glucose monitor that you're wearing, or something, a reader that they can continuously monitor, or if you can take, with a little fanny pack that you can take your blood sugar, which I would likely recommend to keep your glucometer with you so you can check if you're able to. It will help during training too, to help understand what your blood sugars are doing during a running session. And adjustments to medications, even insulin, can be made, but do this under the doctor's supervision. And within that 60 minutes, it's going to be, I would likely, instead of 2 hours, I would try to focus on your recovery meal within under an hour for people with diabetes. And I got my information, some great resources, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the American Heart Association, the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, Runner's World, American Diabetes Association. I always recommend, if you're getting resources online, get them from reputable sources, not blogs. I know that there's a lot of people that write, nutrition blogs that are not dietitian. There's probably a lot of people that write running blogs with their tips. You have to take it with what works for one, doesn't always work for the other, but make sure to try to get your information from reputable, either in-person sources that we're offering like today, or online from these types of organizations that are based on evidence-based and are coming from the right people. All right, so thank you all for the opportunity to speak today, and there's my email address if you'd like to email me with any questions later on. And again, thank you for today's talk, Tuesday talk.
That was a lot of information. That was a lot of really good information. I do feel like you hit on a lot of questions. I do have some questions from the Facebook group, and then I'm going to touch on the Q&A section. So if you guys have questions in your mind, get them in the Q&A right now. We're going to still try to keep this within an hour, so we'll quickly answer a few questions. Heather, if you want to go ahead and unshare your screen, then we'll get some video so you guys can see our faces. All right, so from Facebook, Sarah Peyton West asked, what's the best thing to eat the night before and the morning of the race? And I know you touched on this, but I just want to make sure that she gets her question answered.
So typically, I think she's referring to carb loading. That would be something done. So you definitely, I have heard of people eating large carbohydrate meals before a race. You don't want to do that on the day of. And most of the time, sometimes these races are very early in the morning. And so you want to avoid anything heavy laying on the stomach. So you want to look at carb loading with a larger meal, and pasta is usually the go-to because it's a quick acting carb the night before. So you could do a larger, and so something that may be lower in fiber, so you're going to reduce the risk of any gas or bloating, anything the night before. So something like, you could do a whole wheat, or maybe like the higher protein like pasta, and then a meat sauce. I would still, have that with an extra, make sure that your meat sauce is actually not just marinara flavored with meat. It's actually got, some like grilled chicken slices in there, or a plant-based meat or something like that. So you have adequate protein with your carbs from the pasta. And if you felt the need for extra carbs, and if it's not going to be too heavy, you could use garlic bread with that as well. But you don't forget about the vegetables. You just make sure, have a good side salad with it. But do that, at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime the night before. And then that's going to help build up those glycogen stores overnight. And then like any other day that, you don't really want to treat it as eating more the day of the race. You're going to do the same thing that you were prepping for your training runs. You're topping off that fuel, and then don't do anything different or eat anything new the day of, because you're just asking for something's going to mess up and it's going to interfere with your run. So just the night before, eat a larger, more carb heavy meal. The morning of, do what you've always been doing. Do your tried and true what that you've been doing during your training that worked well for you.
Yeah, Sarah Helton Jones actually did ask, that was the next question. She asked about the carb loading. So I'm kind of I'm a big fan of like brown rice, grilled chicken, maybe a vegetable for dinner the night before. I'm a big fan of peanut butter, bananas before I go to bed, peanut butter in the morning on a bagel. Like all of those things kind of stick with you and keep your blood sugars level. So, but that's just me. So
Yeah,
you guys,
especially the nut butter. So yes, you named off the same thing. So brown
yeah,
rice, quick acting carbs, and it's, you know, keep it kind of bland, not so spicy. Don't drink a lot of acidic foods or citrusy. You want to avoid that stomach upset. So a quick carb, you have your protein from the chicken, and then your veggies, and then you can have like maybe a bedtime snack, something with peanut butter. That's a long acting energy source, so that could keep them energy up through the night, and then top it off in the morning. So yeah, that's another great example.
awesome. Okay, and then another question from Jennifer Fights Bangert. Are most of the nutritional recommendations based on men? Do women have different requirements for fueling, not just the basic eat fewer calories than men? So maybe help her find if there's a formula or your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I put and I'd be happy to share that back with you, the online calculator. It's the Omni calculator, and it's free to use. So yes, there is a difference between men and women. In general, the act of fueling pre, during, and post in the same types of foods, it's all the same for men and women, but the caloric needs will be different. But on that calculator, it's going to ask you male or female, because the formula, even handwritten formula that dietitians like me have used numerous times, there is a different formula. It's just a few numbers different for men and women, accounting for our body. Our bodies are smaller than men, so it does account for that. And then that calculator also takes into account your activity level. So it is best to understand everyone doesn't need a 2,000 calorie diet. Men, yeah, 1,800, 2,000, 2,200. Yeah, those typically are probably more common for men, and women is somewhere around the 1,800, 1,600, 1,400, 1,200 kind of ranges. Those are typically yes, but I can't make a blanket statement. So I would recommend using one of those calculators online, and just understand what are my basic calorie needs, and then what do I need to add extra based on my training regimen.
Yeah, actually, Tammy Mazzocchi asked in the Q&A if she could see that calorie calculator. So if you have it on your slide, she thinks it might have been on slide 6. So if you want to pop that up real quick while we move on to the next question.
Yes.
Just trying to move right along here. And you did talk about, so Michelle Walsh asked about type 2 diabetes and running. You did touch on that. She ran on Saturday a long distance, and she did eat a snack halfway through. Now, I don't know what that snack was. She didn't clarify that, but she said her sugar was still low. So any snack suggestions for her to help it where she doesn't crash at the end of her run?
Yes, in that instance, I would look at, she likely needs to look at, and can you see that screen with the calculator?
Yep, we got
Okay.
it. So if you guys need that calculator, there it is right there.
And so she needs to look at what she is currently eating before her run, even the timing, and then she may consider adding an extra like fat. So if she has a breakfast sandwich, then she might want to add like a couple slices of avocado to her sandwich, or having something with some extra peanut butter, because the fat from a nut butter, from avocado, something like that will help her stabilize blood sugar levels for the most part. But it may mean that what she ate, and it could be one of those things like, I could tell you to eat 15 grams of carb and a small amount of protein, but that might not be enough for her because everyone's so different. So it may mean that she needs to eat more extra carbs. So add an extra 15 grams of carb to what she's eating, and then monitor her blood sugar and see what that does. She may need to play around, take her glucometer with her, and write things down, keep a food journal, and spot the patterns to see what she's eating, what the blood sugar is before the workout, what she eats, and then what the blood sugar is after, and then manipulate what she's eating before so that way she can be better in range after.
I love a food journal. There's a lot of online apps to do that. I think the one that I use is called My Plate, and it'll set, you know, the carbs and the protein and the fat that you should be having based on your body type, male or female, your weight. Is there a particular app that you're kind of a fan of to help monitor those levels?
No, not necessarily. My Fitness Pal it can give you a calorie range. You can change, the thing is, it doesn't really ask you training goals. The paid version may, But typically, you calculate, you can do percentages. There are different calculators that you can use. Typically, it's when you're trying to lose weight, you're manipulating your carb percentages lower. But in general, it's about 40 to 50%, somewhere between 40 and 60% carbs.
Yes.
From our calories, and then proteins there in the middle around the 20 to 30% mark, and then fats are somewhere between 10 and 20%. But there are apps that you can use, but I don't have one in particular that I like. Some people do better with tracking and just constantly monitoring the numbers, and others it's just a lot of extra steps, if that makes sense.
Yep, total sense. And then it looks like we have our last question from the Q&A from Jay Hayes. He or she, I'm not sure, asks about, please provide some advice on getting enough calories and or eating to maintain energy during the last part of the marathon. So a lot of people, around mile 20 to 26, things are looking pretty grim. You're feeling a little sluggish. So, what should maybe you focus on during the race, while you're getting to that higher mileage mark, just to keep yourself moving?
I mean, it's all, I think it has a lot to do with timing, and that you're sticking to, it's not only when you're training, are you training your body to get there, but you should also be training your mind to create the habits of knowing which miles to look at on, I need to go about this far, drink some water. This far, I need to have a glucose gel. And so sticking to that schedule in your mind, if you can trace your steps and know at this point, at this number, maybe minutes or maybe miles, whatever you use to track on, say, a fitness tracker, that you're looking at, you just glance, okay, grab my glucose, but you're staying on schedule and trying not to skip any of those, and don't miss the opportunity to hydrate. And it could mean that, are you just drinking water and you're not getting, because with cramps seizing up, it may mean that you are really depleting your electrolytes. So, that may be something that you may use the electrolyte enhanced beverages, or even those sports drinks that you really need to, and you can make homemade sports drinks too, if you want to make your own, but focusing on, you really need to get those electrolytes to prevent any type of muscle contraction issues that you're really seizing. And, just sticking with that schedule on keeping those meals and snacks, or especially the hydration and the snacks throughout the run, keeping on schedule as best as you can.
And what you don't want to do during the race, guys, is if you know that you start crashing at mile 5 every time, and you crash, let's say, every 5 miles, then maybe what you do is you plan your snack every 4 miles. So you don't want to wait till you crash, and then you're like, oh God, I'm so thirsty, or I'm so hungry and I feel depleted. Don't get to that point. Try to combat it before you get to that point. So like you said, monitor, where your crashing points are, where are your walls.
And also too, you have to think the food doesn't happen. It can be almost instant, but not all. I mean, it's not exactly on time. I mean, that's why quick sugar can raise your blood sugar quickly, but it still takes a few minutes to start processing and do what you want it to do. So don't wait till there's an emergency and trying to fix it, because you're just asking for failure. It's not going to work. You need to prep for it. And it may mean that if you know where you're crashing and look at what you're eating, and it may mean some trial and error on some, keep that journal, write exactly what you eat and exactly the time, and checking blood sugar levels and monitoring symptoms, where you're getting miles. And it could be adjusting your pre-workout, your pre-run snack or meal.
That's why we do training runs, guys. It's not just training runs about getting the miles. It's also training your body on your hydration and your nutrition. It's very important to figure out what's going to work for you come race day. So you have these 15 weeks to figure it out. Oh, that made my stomach sick, or oh, I felt so tired, or oh, that didn't work for me. It didn't provide energy. This is the time to figure it out. And then I know a lot of runners are also on maybe some supplements here and there. We do have just one last question about information on magnesium intake and recovery. If you have any thoughts on magnesium for recovery?
Not necessarily. Magnesium's involved with muscle relaxation. I think that it would aid in recovery to help, because you want to be able to relax your muscles and not be so tense to be able to aid in recovery that way. But I don't think that it necessarily aids in the part of recovery. And it is one of the electrolytes, so it's not going to hurt you. I believe the sports drinks, some of them will have some magnesium because it is involved with muscle contractions. So it would help. It's just with recovery, that's mainly going to be your water and your protein and your carbs.
Yeah, keep it simple, guys. You need food. You need
It's like
water.
one of those things with it's supplements too. If you don't necessarily need it, just because something's advertised as it's the next greatest thing and you have to have it to do well, they're trying to it's kind of a scheme to get you to spend more money when you might not have to. Just like energy gels, protein shakes, you don't necessarily need one. You can get those things from regular food. The same thing with magnesium, so you might not necessarily need it.
Yep, got it. Such good information. I think we've answered all of the questions. There were a lot of questions today, a lot of great information today. Thank you so much, Heather, for joining us. I feel like this was the pivotal Zoom Tuesday talk for what's going on with everybody right now with nutrition and hydration. So I hope everybody took some awesome information away from this. So again, thank you. Make sure you guys look for your email and in the Facebook group about this in case you had to dip in and out or you couldn't make it today. It is going to be posted, recorded and posted so you guys can watch it. And then our next Tuesday talk, next Tuesday, March 23rd, will be with KORT again. So we are with KORT Physical Therapy once again, and we're going to talk about some injury treatment options. And I will be the guinea pig for some of these demonstrations. So anything can happen because, of course, it's live. So I might get poked with needles or put on machines, and we'll see what happens. So if you're having any little aches and pains or dealing with little injuries, that's going to be a good one to log into, maybe see what KORT Physical Therapy can offer to you in this last month of training, and make sure you guys can still get to that start line and the finish line, even more important. Make sure you pre-register for the next Tuesday talk, and it's Tuesday. You guys have a run today, so go out and get that run. It's going to be a beautiful one. Again, thank you, Heather, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys all have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.